Earth, the one place in the universe we know for certain cradles life, our home, our foundation, the planet we take for granted every single day. Yet for all the satellites orbiting it, the books written about it, and the classrooms dedicated to teaching its history, the truth is simple: we barely understand it. Beneath our feet lies a story that is older, darker, and far more mysterious than most people can imagine. And when scientists peel back the layers, they don't just find dirt, rock, and molten iron. They uncover anomalies that defy logic, landscapes that once existed but vanished without explanation, and clues that point to events so violent they nearly erased life itself. Think about it. This planet has been frozen solid from pole to pole, scorched by fire from the skies, split apart by eruptions that darkened the atmosphere for centuries, and reshaped by continents that rose and sank as if they were temporary. Civilizations that once thrived now lie buried beneath oceans and deserts, their ruins whispering of knowledge we barely understand. Even today, strange phenomena erupt from the earth in ways we cannot fully explain. Rivers that boil without warning, lightning storms that never end, waterfalls of blood-red water spilling from ancient glaciers. Each of these stories challenges the way we think about Earth, as if the planet itself is keeping secrets, revealing them only in fragments when we're paying close enough attention. But here's the most unsettling part. Many of the planet's greatest dangers are not behind us. They're waiting ahead. Earth has survived asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, and global freezes. It will survive long after us. The real question is whether we can survive it. And as we dive deeper into its hidden past and unexplored mysteries, you'll see why the truth about Earth is far stranger and far more shocking than the stories you've been told. 4.5 billion years ago, before Earth was Earth, the solar system was nothing more than chaos. Clouds of gas swirled around the newborn sun, dust collided with dust, rocks smashed together at unimaginable speeds, and the vacuum of space was filled with violent fire. Out of this storm of creation, planets were born, not peacefully, but through endless destruction. And yet, somehow, through all this chaos, one planet emerged with conditions so rare, so improbable, that it would eventually host life Earth. But the story of its birth isn't as straightforward as most of us learned in school. Scientists once believed it was simply a gradual process of accumulation, rocks fusing until a planet took shape. But the deeper they dug, the more anomalies appeared, mysteries that suggested Earth's formation was stranger, more violent, and far more uncertain than we ever imagined. One of the most shocking theories centers on an event known as the Theia collision. According to this idea, Earth was not always the Earth we know. Billions of years ago, a Mars-sized planet called Theia slammed into the young Earth with such catastrophic force that it nearly destroyed both. The aftermath was apocalyptic. Oceans of rock vaporized, the surface melted into a sea of magma, and chunks of Earth and Theia were blasted into orbit. Those fragments eventually coalesced into the Moon, the very satellite we see every night. The one that controls tides and stabilizes Earth's tilt may be nothing more than the scar of a cosmic wound. And yet, the theory still raises more questions than it answers. If Theia truly existed, where are its remains? Did it vanish completely into Earth's mantle? Or do hidden traces of another world still lie buried beneath our feet, undetected, waiting to be revealed? But the mysteries don't stop there. Even the composition of Earth itself seems suspiciously unusual. Geologists studying Earth's elements discovered that our planet carries a late veneer of rare metals, platinum, iridium, and gold, that shouldn't exist in the abundance we see. These materials are far more common in asteroids than in planets, which has led to one of the strangest ideas about Earth's past. After the planet formed, it may have been bombarded by swarms of asteroids for hundreds of millions of years, layering its crust with the elements that would one day become vital for human technology. In other words, the very tools that built civilization, the gold in our circuits, the platinum in our machines, might not be of earthly origin at all. They may be the remnants of an ancient storm from the stars. And then there's the core, the mysterious engine at the heart of our planet. According to models, Earth's inner core should have solidified evenly as it cooled. But seismic data tells a different story. There are hints of something unusual, an inner core, distinct from the rest, with crystals aligned in ways that defy expectation. Some scientists believe this anomaly is evidence of a second dramatic event in Earth's formation, something powerful enough to alter its very heart. Others suggest it might even be remnants of Theia itself, buried deep in the center where no drill will ever reach. The unsettling truth is that we may never know. The core is inaccessible, locked away beneath thousands of miles of rock. The best we can do is listen to the faint echoes of earthquakes, and try to interpret the whispers of a planet that does not give up its secrets easily. What's even more disturbing is that the core isn't as stable as we once thought. Studies reveal that it may rotate at a different speed than the surface, occasionally slowing down or even reversing direction. Imagine that, the very heart of the planet, the molten engine that generates Earth's protective magnetic field, ticking on a rhythm we barely understand. If it ever faltered, if that magnetic shield collapsed, solar winds would strip away our atmosphere and fry the surface with radiation. Earth would no longer be the safe haven we know. The fact that we're even here at all is nothing short of miraculous. And yet, for all its violence and instability, Earth was also shaped by chance alignments that worked in our favor. The tilt of the planet, stabilized by the moon's gravity, allowed seasons to form. The distance from the sun was precise enough to allow liquid water. The chaotic bombardments may have delivered not just metals, but the very water that filled our oceans. These coincidences are so improbable that some scientists have questioned whether Earth is an outlier, a rare cosmic lottery ticket. Others go further, suggesting that perhaps there was something inevitable about Earth's creation, that the universe itself pushes toward worlds like ours. It's speculation, yes, but speculation that burns at the edge of science, raising questions about whether Earth is unique or simply the first of many hidden gems scattered across the galaxy. But what makes this story even more fascinating is the parts that don't fit neatly into the model. In certain regions of the mantle, geophysicists have detected vast blobs of material unlike anything else on Earth, dense zones thousands of miles across that could be the remains of alien rock. Are these the last remnants of Theia, sunken and fused with Earth? Or are they evidence of something even older, traces of a world that predated Earth entirely? The thought is unsettling. Our planet may not be purely ours. It may be a patchwork of worlds, a Frankenstein creation stitched together by cataclysm. And that would mean Earth's identity is not singular, but plural. Part Earth, part Theia, part asteroid storm, part unknown. For all we know, the story could still be incomplete. Some researchers speculate that other collisions, smaller and less dramatic, may have reshaped Earth multiple times. Each impact, each bombardment, each eruption carved a planet we now mistake as permanent. Yet permanence is an illusion. Earth has been rebuilt countless times, and it will be rebuilt again. The truth of Earth's formation is not the neat, linear story we once believed. It is messy, violent, and full of holes we may never fill. What we do know is this: Earth was born not out of peace, but out of chaos. It carries within it the scars of cosmic warfare, the fragments of lost worlds, and the remnants of storms that raged before life ever began. And while we stand on its surface as though it were solid and certain, beneath us lies a history that is anything but. And yet, as shocking as Earth's beginnings are, the mysteries only deepen the closer we look, because while we've explored the story of how the planet was formed, what scientists found buried deep in its heart challenged everything we thought we knew about stability, survival, and the strange truth of what lies beneath our feet. The deeper we go into the story of Earth, the stranger it becomes. The surface may look solid, the continents steady, the mountains unmovable, but beneath the thin crust lies an engine we barely understand, the core. Every step we take, every city built, every civilization that rises or falls depends on what's happening thousands of miles below us, in a realm we can never touch. And what scientists have uncovered about the core is not reassuring. It is baffling, unsettling, and in some ways terrifying. For centuries, the core was nothing more than theory, an assumption built on the way seismic waves traveled through the Earth. We couldn't see it, we couldn't drill to it, but the vibrations of earthquakes hinted at something hidden far below. As instruments became more advanced, those hints turned into revelations. They told us that the Earth was not uniform inside, but layered, an outer shell of crust, a thick mantle of rock, a liquid outer core of molten iron, and deep within that, a solid inner core of blazing metal. It sounded clean, almost elegant, like the neatly drawn diagrams in schoolbooks. But the truth, as always, is far messier. Because the inner core doesn't behave the way it should. When scientists mapped the way seismic waves passed through it, they found that it wasn't symmetrical. In fact, in the very center of the Earth there seemed to be another structure entirely, a so-called inner core, smaller and stranger, with iron crystals aligned in directions no one expected. This discovery was so bizarre that some researchers began to wonder if it might be a fossil, a relic of an earlier Earth, formed in a way we still don't understand. Could it be the scar of Thea's collision, a fragment of another world fused into the heart of our planet? Or is it evidence of some ancient process that shaped Earth's destiny long before life began? And that's just the beginning. Even the motion of the core has thrown scientists into confusion. We once assumed the inner core spun steadily, keeping time like a cosmic metronome, but new research shows that it does. Sometimes it spins faster than the surface, sometimes slower, and sometimes it seems to pause, even reverse direction. Imagine that, the very center of our planet, the place generating our magnetic shield, pulsing on a rhythm we don't yet comprehend. If that rotation truly changes, even subtly, it could ripple outward, influencing the magnetic field that shields us from deadly solar radiation. Without that shield, Earth would be stripped by cosmic winds, its atmosphere eroded away, its surface fried by radiation. In other words, the life we take for granted is balanced on the unpredictable heartbeat of a hidden engine. And what about the magnetic field itself? We know it protects us, deflecting the sun's violent storms, but it is far from stable. The field weakens, it drifts, and every few 100,000 years, it flips entirely, north becoming south, and south becoming north. During these reversals, the field can drop to a fraction of its strength, leaving the planet vulnerable. Archaeological evidence suggests such reversals have happened dozens of times in Earth's history, but the last one occurred nearly 800,000 years ago, long before modern civilization. Which raises an ominous question. What would happen if it occurred now? Satellites would fail, power grids would collapse, and radiation would pour through the weakened shield. The idea that our planet's very core might one day turn against us is no longer science fiction. It is a matter of when, not if. But the mysteries grow even deeper. In certain parts of the mantle, just above the core, scientists have detected giant, dense structures unlike anything else on Earth. These blobs, as they are casually called, span thousands of kilometers and may be remnants of another world entirely. Some suggest they are pieces of Thea, the planet that once collided with Earth. Others believe they may be evidence of processes we don't yet understand, hidden reservoirs of material waiting to be released. Whatever they are, their existence proves one thing: the Earth is not uniform, not predictable, but scarred and stitched together from events so violent we can barely comprehend them. The strangest part is that, for all we know, the core itself may still be changing in ways we cannot detect. We think of planets as stable, finished products, but Earth is still alive, the heat of the core comes partly from leftover energy of its violent birth and partly from radioactive decay. One day, billions of years from now, that heat will fade, the core will freeze, and Earth's magnetic shield will collapse permanently. When that happens, life as we know it will end, not with an asteroid or a supervolcano, but with a slow unraveling from within. The thought is chilling. The planet we think of as eternal is already counting down its lifespan, powered by a core that is slowly burning out. And yet, for all these dire possibilities, the core is also the reason we exist at all. Without it, there would be no magnetic shield, no protection from cosmic radiation, no stable atmosphere, no liquid water, and no life. The same engine that terrifies us is also the reason we're here to be terrified. It is the paradox of Earth's heart. Dangerous, unstable, but essential. It holds us in balance, even as it hides secrets we may never uncover. The more scientists study the core, the more it resembles a riddle, one that cannot be solved by drilling or digging, but only by listening to the faint echoes of earthquakes, listening to the patterns of magnetic drift, listening to the whispers of a planet that does not reveal itself easily. Each new discovery raises more questions than it answers, and each answer deepens the sense of mystery. Is the core simply iron and nickel, or is there something stranger within it? Something we cannot yet imagine. Has it always behaved this way, or is Earth's heart shifting in ways unique to this moment in time? We don't know, and perhaps we never will. But one thing is certain: the story of Earth's core is not one of stability, but of tension. It is a story of balance on the edge of chaos, of a shield that protects but may also falter, of a heartbeat that sustains but could one day fail. And as unsettling as these truths are, they pale in comparison to what comes next. Because while the core hides its secrets deep below, the surface of Earth tells stories just as strange. Stories of continents that rose and fell, worlds that vanished, and lands that may still lie hidden beneath the waves. The mysteries of the core are haunting, yes, but they are only the beginning. For most of us, the map of the world feels permanent. Continents are fixed, oceans are eternal, mountains rise where they always have, and coastlines seem immovable. But the deeper you look into Earth's past, the more that illusion begins to unravel. The ground beneath our feet has not always been where it is now. Continents have drifted, collided, and split apart. Entire land masses have risen, only to disappear beneath the waves. And while textbooks teach us about Pangaea, the supercontinent that existed 300 million years ago, they rarely mention the strange fragments, the half-forgotten lands, and the civilizations swallowed by water that complicate the story. Earth is not static. It is alive, restless, and full of places that once existed but no longer do. These vanishing continents and lost worlds remind us just how temporary the ground beneath us really is. One of the most famous examples is Zealandia, often called Earth's hidden continent. For decades, scientists debated whether New Zealand and its surrounding islands were simply fragments of continental crust, or part of something bigger. Then, in recent years, geological evidence confirmed what had long been suspected. Zealandia is a nearly complete continent, about 2/3 the size of Australia, but 93% of it lies submerged beneath the Pacific Ocean. Only the peaks rise above water, forming the islands we know today. It is a continent that existed in full view yet remained invisible, hiding beneath the waves for millions of years. Its discovery wasn't just a matter of cartography, it reshaped our understanding of Earth's geology, proving that entire continents can slip beneath the ocean and vanish almost completely from human memory. But Zealandia is not alone. Across the North Sea lies Doggerland, a landmass that once connected Britain to mainland Europe. During the Ice Age, sea levels were far lower, and Doggerland was a lush landscape of forests, rivers and lakes. It was home to animals and early humans, a thriving habitat that stretched for thousands of square miles. But as the ice melted and the seas rose, Doggerland disappeared, swallowed by water around 8,000 years ago. Today it lies hidden beneath the waves, remembered only in the occasional fishing net that drags up the bones of mammoths or the tools of Stone Age hunters. For the people who once lived there, the flooding of Doggerland must have been apocalyptic, an event so transformative that it may have inspired flood myths passed down for generations. And then there are the lost worlds of legend, places like Atlantis or Lemuria, long dismissed as fantasy but strangely persistent in human memory. Plato's story of Atlantis has been retold countless times, painting a picture of a great civilization that vanished beneath the sea. Most scholars argue it was allegory, a moral tale wrapped in geography, but others point to the uncanny similarities between the myth and real-world events, such as the destruction of the Minoan civilization on Crete after the eruption of Thera, or the sudden submergence of coastal cities in prehistory. As for Lemuria, it was once proposed by scientists in the 19th century to explain similarities in species found in India and Madagascar before the theory of continental drift was accepted. Though the scientific basis has since been abandoned, the idea of a vanished land connecting distant cultures has lived on in myth and speculation. Whether real or imagined, these stories speak to a universal truth. Humans have always sensed that the Earth itself is unstable, capable of erasing entire worlds. The idea of vanishing continents forces us to confront the unsettling reality of plate tectonics. The surface of Earth is not fixed, but floats on moving plates of rock, colliding, breaking apart, and sliding beneath one another in a cycle that never ends. What exists today may not exist tomorrow. India, once an isolated island, smashed into Asia and forced up the Himalayas. Africa is slowly tearing itself apart along the Great Rift Valley, destined to split and create a new ocean. The Atlantic continues to widen as the Americas drift away from Europe and Africa. This constant motion means that today's continents are only temporary arrangements. 100 million years from now, maps will look entirely different, with familiar lands shifted, merged or drowned. In that sense, Zealandia and Doggerland are not a phenomenon. They are warnings of what Earth always does. It creates and destroys land, reshaping the stage on which life plays out. But what about the civilizations that may have been lost along with these lands? Archaeology has uncovered cities swallowed by water: Dwarka off the coast of India, Pavlopetri in Greece, Yonaguni in Japan. Each of these sites was once thriving, built by humans who believed their homes were secure, only to see the ocean rise and erase their world. Some argue that these sites prove there are more ancient cities still hidden beneath the waves, perhaps remnants of cultures older than we think possible. Could Doggerland or other submerged lands have hosted societies whose stories were lost in the flood? Could Atlantis or similar myths be faint memories of real civilizations drowned by Earth's relentless changes? What makes the idea even more haunting is that the process has never stopped. Coastal cities today face the same fate as Doggerland did millennia ago. As sea levels rise, as ice sheets melt, as tectonics continue their endless dance, the boundaries of land and sea will shift again. New Doggerlands will be created in the future, not in the distant past, but in our own lifetimes. And if entire continents can vanish without trace, what else might Earth still be hiding beneath its oceans? Modern sonar has mapped only a fraction of the seafloor. Vast regions remain unexplored, and who's to say what lies there? Ancient mountains, forgotten shorelines, even the ruins of civilizations we do not yet know about, may be waiting in the dark. If Zealandia could remain hidden until recently, if Doggerland could vanish almost completely from memory, how many more lost worlds remain undetected? The unsettling truth is that the Earth we stand on is temporary. Continents vanish, civilizations drown, myths persist, and what we call permanent is anything but. The map is not finished. It is always being redrawn, always in motion, always waiting to surprise us. And if the story of vanishing continents shows us anything, it is that stability is an illusion. Earth is a restless artist, painting and erasing worlds again and again. But while some lands have disappeared, others have revealed traces of something even more unsettling. Human achievements that don't seem to fit their time, ancient structures built with knowledge we don't fully understand. And as we move forward, the question becomes not just what lands were lost, but what secrets those lands might have carried. Secrets that challenge everything we think we know about our own past. If vanishing continents prove the Earth itself is unstable, then the ruins left behind prove something even more unsettling. Humanity has always been building, always been collapsing, and sometimes building in ways we cannot yet explain. Our history books like to present a neat timeline, a slow climb from primitive caves to great civilizations, but the more we uncover, the more cracks appear in that story. Scattered across the globe are structures and artifacts that seem too advanced for their time, ruins that whisper of knowledge forgotten or forbidden, and civilizations erased so completely that only fragments of stone remain. The Earth does not just bury land, it buries memory, and sometimes what it leaves behind doesn't add up. Take Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, for example. Discovered in the 1990s, it rewrote the story of human civilization almost overnight. Massive stone pillars arranged in circles, carved with intricate animal reliefs, all dating back nearly 12,000 years. That's older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, older than agriculture itself, according to mainstream history. How could hunter-gatherers, supposedly without cities, without writing, without organization, construct something so monumental? It shouldn't exist, and yet it does. Some researchers argue it proves that humans developed symbolic thought and social structures earlier than we believed. Others whisper that perhaps it's evidence of knowledge passed down from a forgotten civilization, one wiped out at the end of the Ice Age, when rising seas and cataclysmic floods erased entire cultures. And Göbekli Tepe is not alone. The Great Pyramids of Giza still stir debate centuries after their rediscovery. Officially, they were built around 4,500 years ago as tombs for pharaohs, yet questions linger. The precision of their alignment with the cardinal directions, the near-perfect dimensions encoded within them, the astronomical correlations with Orion's belt, all of it seems suspiciously advanced for the tools of the time. Some argue it was possible with ingenuity and manpower alone. Others suggest lost techniques, forgotten technologies, even external influences. What's undeniable is that the pyramids have resisted simple explanations for thousands of years, turning into symbols not just of Egypt, but of mystery itself. Further east, the ruins of Nan Madol in Micronesia add another layer of strangeness. Built on a series of artificial islets, this city of stone is constructed from massive basalt columns, some weighing 50 tons each. How they were moved and positioned without cranes, wheels or modern machinery remains unclear. Legends from the area speak of sorcerers who floated the stones into place, myths that may preserve fragments of a forgotten truth. Modern archaeology struggles to explain it fully, and yet the site exists, a silent monument to knowledge that seems out of place. Then there are the megaliths scattered across the world: Stonehenge in England, Sacsayhuaman in Peru, Puma Punku in Bolivia. Each one raises the same question: how did ancient people, supposedly limited by primitive tools, move and shape stones so massive, with cuts so precise they fit together without mortar? The standard answers involve ramps, ropes, and manpower, but these explanations often sound like placeholders, guesses made to fill the void, rather than true solutions. The deeper you look, the more the sense of unease grows, that we are missing something, that human history has layers erased by time and cataclysm. And it isn't just stone structures. Ancient myths across cultures tell eerily similar stories, tales of golden ages, of great floods, of civilizations destroyed and knowledge lost. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens to teach humanity. The Mayans spoke of cycles of creation and destruction, ages of the world that rise and fall like tides. Hindu texts describe vimanas, flying machines used in ancient wars. Are these simply stories, or distorted memories of real events, passed down through generations until they blurred into myth? Mainstream historians dismiss them as allegory, but the consistency across cultures separated by oceans is hard to ignore. The concept of forbidden knowledge has haunted humanity for millennia. In almost every ancient tradition there are tales of knowledge granted too soon, of wisdom taken from the gods or stolen from the heavens. Prometheus in Greek mythology stole fire and gave it to man, and was punished eternally. In the Bible, Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge and were cast out. In Mesopotamia, the figure of Enki gave humans wisdom that others wanted hidden. What ties these myths together is the same theme: humanity reaching for knowledge beyond its grasp, and paying a price. Whether metaphorical or literal, the implication is clear: knowledge is power, and power can destroy. Archaeology occasionally uncovers artifacts that fan the flames of these ideas. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off Greece, is a device over 2,000 years old that functions like a complex clock, predicting planetary positions and eclipses with gears of astonishing precision. For centuries, nothing remotely comparable appeared in history until the development of modern clocks in the Middle Ages. How did such technology appear so early, and why was it lost? Was it an isolated genius, or the remnant of a broader knowledge base that vanished when civilizations collapsed? Some artifacts are even stranger. Carvings in South America appear to show what look like rockets and astronauts. The Baghdad battery, a clay jar with copper and iron, could have been used to generate electricity. Cave paintings in Australia depict beings with large eyes and elongated heads, eerily resembling modern depictions of extraterrestrials. Whether coincidence, misinterpretation, or something more, these anomalies suggest a past richer and stranger than we are taught. Even when mainstream archaeology dismisses these as misreadings, the fact remains: history is full of gaps. For thousands of years, civilizations have risen and fallen, each time erasing knowledge. The Library of Alexandria burned, wiping out untold volumes of wisdom. Empires collapsed, and with them languages, sciences, and inventions. We assume that history is a linear climb, but what if it is cyclical? What if humanity has advanced and collapsed multiple times, each time leaving fragments of forbidden knowledge scattered like breadcrumbs across the ages? The unsettling part is that Earth itself seems complicit. Cataclysms, whether floods, volcanic eruptions, or shifting continents, reset the clock, erasing civilizations and burying their knowledge. Doggerland drowned. The Indus Valley dried. The Maya cities fell to famine and war. Again and again, Earth takes back what it gave. And so when we look at Göbekli Tepe, at Nan Madol, at the pyramids, we may not just be seeing ruins. We may be seeing warnings. Warnings that knowledge, however advanced, does not guarantee survival. And this leads us to a sobering truth. As advanced as we think we are, we too are vulnerable. Our skyscrapers, our satellites, Our digital libraries could vanish in a single cataclysm, leaving future generations to dig through rubble and wonder how we achieved what we did. To them, we might look just as mysterious as the builders of Göbekli Tepe look to us. Forbidden knowledge is not just about the past, it is about the fragile line between progress and collapse, between memory and oblivion, which raises the ultimate question. If Earth has erased civilizations before, if it has buried knowledge that took millennia to rediscover, what secrets might it still be hiding? And more importantly, are we next in line? If ancient ruins and lost civilizations remind us that knowledge can vanish, supervolcanoes remind us that survival itself is never guaranteed. Earth is not just a passive stage on which history unfolds, it is an unpredictable force capable of ending entire ages with a single eruption. Mountains that look serene, landscapes that appear calm, are in truth ticking clocks, holding back a power that could darken the skies, choke the atmosphere, and wipe out life as we know it. These are not the small eruptions we see on the news, where ash coats nearby towns and lava creeps down a hillside. Supervolcanoes are something else entirely: rare, monstrous events that leave scars visible even millions of years later. And whether we like it or not, we are still living on borrowed time, surrounded by giants that are only sleeping. Perhaps the most famous of these is Yellowstone, a place tourists visit for geysers and hot springs, unaware that they are standing atop one of the largest active volcanic systems on Earth. Beneath its forests and lakes lies a magma chamber so vast that if it erupted in full, it could eject over 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash into the atmosphere. That's not a local disaster, that's a planetary one. Crops would fail across continents, skies would remain dark for years, temperatures would plunge, and ecosystems would collapse. The last time Yellowstone erupted with full force was about 640,000 years ago. In geological terms, that is not long at all. Scientists reassure us that another eruption is unlikely anytime soon, but the truth is more sobering. The timing of such events is not fully predictable. The magma chamber breathes, expanding and contracting, building pressure in ways we don't yet understand. And so we wait, hoping that the giant continues to sleep. But Yellowstone is not the only threat. Across the globe lies Campi Flegrei, an enormous volcanic field just outside Naples, Italy. Unlike a single towering peak, it is a sprawling caldera, marked by boiling mud, fumaroles, and restless ground. Its name means burning fields, and it has earned it. Around 40,000 years ago, Campi Flegrei produced one of the largest eruptions Europe has ever seen, an event so violent it may have contributed to the decline of Neanderthals. Today, millions of people live atop and around this hidden monster. Scientists monitor it constantly, noting subtle rises in ground level, shifts in gas emissions, and seismic tremors. Any of these could be warning signs, but then again, they could also be false alarms. The unsettling truth is that predicting supervolcanoes is like listening to a muffled drumbeat in the distance. You hear the rhythm, but you cannot tell when the next strike will fall. Then there is Toba, in Indonesia, a name that may not be familiar, but whose eruption nearly ended humanity itself. Around 74,000 years ago, Toba exploded in one of the most catastrophic events in Earth's history. The blast released more than 2,500 cubic kilometers of volcanic material, plunging the planet into a volcanic winter. Ash blanketed vast regions, sunlight dimmed, and global temperatures dropped for years. Genetic evidence suggests that humanity's population may have dwindled to only a few thousand survivors. Imagine that. The entire future of our species balanced on a razor's edge, with survival determined not by strength or intelligence, but by sheer luck against the fury of the earth. Every human alive today may be descended from that handful of survivors who endured the aftermath of Toba's wrath. And Toba is still there. Dormant, yes, but not gone. Like Yellowstone, like Campi Flegrei, it waits, quietly accumulating energy in the depths. These supervolcanoes do not erupt often, but when they do, the world is reshaped. They are the great reset buttons of Earth, wiping the slate clean, forcing evolution to start again, and reminding us that the planet is not our possession, it is a force we merely inhabit. But what makes supervolcanoes so terrifying is not just their raw power, it is the unpredictability, the way they hide their signs, the way their timelines dwarf our own. We think in years, decades, maybe centuries. Volcanoes think in millennia. What looks calm to us may be nothing more than a pause, a breath before the next storm. And because their cycles are so vast, We grow complacent, forgetting their history, until they remind us again with fire and ash. The consequences of a modern supervolcano eruption would be devastating. Unlike in the past, humanity today is global, interconnected, dependent on fragile systems. Crops rely on stable temperatures and clear skies. Supply chains move food across continents. A single bad harvest can destabilize economies. Now imagine 3 years of volcanic winter, fields failing worldwide, famines spreading across nations, economies collapsing, billions struggling to survive. Unlike the Toba survivors, we are not small bands of hunter-gatherers capable of moving and adapting. We are billions, rooted in cities, reliant on systems too complex to endure such disruption. In some ways, we may be more vulnerable now than we were then, and yet supervolcanoes are not all we have to fear. They are the most dramatic example, but Earth is riddled with smaller but still catastrophic threats. Mount Tambora in 1815 erupted with such force that it triggered the year without a summer, leading to crop failures and famine across the northern hemisphere. Krakatoa in 1883 darkened skies and produced sunsets so vivid they inspired painters. These were not even close to the scale of Yellowstone or Toba, and yet they were enough to shake entire societies. If eruptions of this magnitude could disrupt history, what could a true supervolcano do in our fragile, interconnected age? What makes this even more unsettling is that supervolcanoes may not be rare outliers, but inevitable players in Earth's cycle. Over the last 36 million years, there have been at least 47 such eruptions. That averages to roughly one every 700,000 years. It's a small number in human terms, but in geological time, it is regular, almost routine. Earth breathes fire as predictably as it shifts its continents or reverses its poles. It is not a question of if, but when. So where does that leave us? Living atop a planet whose surface can shatter at any moment, whose sky can darken for years, whose buried giants wake on cycles we cannot fully predict. We have built civilizations, written histories, imagined ourselves in control, but beneath it all lies a truth we cannot escape. Earth has ended ages before, and it will do so again. Supervolcanoes are reminders that extinction is not a distant idea. It is a possibility written into the very nature of the planet. And yet, like all the dangers we've explored, there is something strangely awe-inspiring about them too. These eruptions remind us of the scale of Earth, of the forces at work far beyond our control. They humble us, force us to see ourselves not as masters of the planet, but as participants in its story. They remind us that survival is not guaranteed, but neither is it impossible. Our ancestors endured Toba. They survived against odds we can barely comprehend. And so perhaps, just perhaps, we could too. But even as supervolcanoes loom as reminders of destruction from below, the story of Earth's threats does not end there, because while fire can rise from the ground, the planet itself has also been smothered in ice, frozen solid in epochs of unimaginable cold, and the evidence suggests it happened not once, but multiple times when the entire Earth may have looked more like an alien planet than the home we know today. When we think of Earth's past, we picture dinosaurs roaming tropical forests, or deserts shaped by wind and heat. But one of the most haunting chapters in Earth's history tells the opposite story, a planet almost entirely frozen, transformed into a ball of ice, where oceans locked solid, continents hidden beneath glaciers, and the equator itself cloaked in frost. It sounds like science fiction, like an alien world orbiting a dying sun, but the evidence is real, and it points to a time when Earth came terrifyingly close to being uninhabitable. Scientists call it Snowball Earth, and it is one of the most extreme, mysterious, and dangerous episodes in the story of our planet. The first clues came from rocks in the strangest places. Glacial deposits, sediments left behind by ice, were found not near the poles, but near the equator, embedded in ancient stone that formed hundreds of millions of years ago. This made no sense at first. How could glaciers exist in regions that should have been warm? Slowly, piece by piece, a picture emerged. The Earth had been so cold that even the tropics froze. It wasn't just another ice age like the one that ended 12,000 years ago. This was global. The oceans themselves may have been covered by ice sheets kilometers thick, stretching from pole to pole. Imagine it. Standing at the equator and seeing not lush jungles but endless white horizons. The skies dimmer, the oceans silence beneath a lid of ice. Life clinging to survival in only the rarest refuges. Volcanic vents at the bottom of the ocean may have been the last havens, where heat and nutrients allowed microbes to persist. Without them, life might have ended there. The fact that we are here at all suggests that evolution survived by the narrowest of margins. But how could Earth have frozen so completely? The theories are unsettling. One possibility is that a series of volcanic eruptions spewed gases that altered the atmosphere, reducing the greenhouse effect until temperatures plummeted. Another suggests that continental drift positioned land masses near the equator, reflecting sunlight back into space and amplifying cooling. Once the ice spread, it reflected even more light, creating a runaway cycle. Colder temperatures meant more ice meant more reflection, and the spiral continued until the planet was locked in ice. It is the ultimate example of how delicate Earth's balance really is. A small shift can snowball, literally into a catastrophe. And then comes the bigger mystery. How did Earth escape? If the oceans were sealed, if sunlight was reflected back into space, how could the planet ever thaw again? The leading idea is that volcanoes, still active beneath the ice, continued to pump carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Normally, the carbon cycle is balanced by plants and oceans absorbing CO2, but in a frozen world those systems failed. Over millions of years, CO2 built up unchecked until the greenhouse effect finally broke through, heating the planet so rapidly that glaciers melted in a geological instant. Some scientists believe the thaw was so sudden that it triggered the greatest floods in Earth's history, carving valleys, reshaping coasts, and leaving scars that can still be traced today. From frozen silence to raging torrents, Earth's transformation must have been apocalyptic. What's even more haunting is that this didn't happen just once. Geologic evidence points to multiple snowball Earth episodes, occurring roughly 700 million years ago during a period known as the Cryogenian. Each time, life was pushed to the brink, surviving only in hidden refuges, evolving under impossible conditions. Some researchers even argue that these frozen catastrophes may have played a role in pushing evolution forward. When the world thawed, oxygen levels surged, ecosystems expanded, and multicellular life exploded into new forms. In other words, the ice nearly killed Earth. But it may also have prepared the stage for complex life, including us. Still, that is cold comfort. Because if it happened before, it could happen again. And even though today we fear warming more than freezing, Earth's climate is not stable. It swings like a pendulum, moving from heat to ice, driven by forces beyond our control. Changes in Earth's orbit, shifts in the sun's output, the drifting of continents, the unseen rhythms of the planet itself. We live in what geologists call an interglacial period, a temporary warm phase between ice ages. For the last 2.5 million years, Earth has swung back and forth between glacial periods and warmer intervals. Right now, we are in one of the warm intervals, but history suggests it will not last forever. The last ice age ended only 12,000 years ago, when massive ice sheets covered North America, Europe, and Asia. Mammoths roamed the tundra, humans lived as nomads, and vast regions of the world were uninhabitable. That ice age lasted tens of thousands of years, and there is every reason to believe another could come again. The unsettling part is that ice ages don't announce themselves with sudden eruptions or earthquakes. They creep in slowly over centuries, with glaciers advancing a little further each generation, until cities and farmlands are swallowed. For us who measure time in decades, it might feel gradual, but on the scale of civilization, an advancing ice age could be as devastating as any catastrophe. Some scientists even wonder if we are overdue. Without human influence, Earth's orbital cycles suggest another ice age might have begun within the next few thousand years. Ironically, our industrial emissions may have delayed it, tipping the balance toward warming instead of cooling. But that only underscores the fragility of Earth's systems. One variable shifts, and the entire balance changes. Warm today, frozen tomorrow, the pendulum swings, and we can do little but watch. The idea of a frozen Earth is haunting because it makes us confront a terrifying possibility that stability is an illusion. Civilization depends on predictable seasons, fertile lands, flowing rivers, but Earth's history tells a different story. The planet is not stable, it is restless, shifting between extremes, capable of turning into an ice-covered world with no warning we could prepare for. And if it happened once, if it happened more than once, It can happen again. What would happen to us in such a scenario? Coastal cities would not just be flooded, as in warming, but abandoned to encroaching glaciers. Agriculture would collapse under permafrost. Mass migrations would become inevitable, with billions forced southward toward shrinking habitable zones. Nations would fracture, wars would ignite over dwindling resources, and survival would become the only priority. For all our technology, for all our progress, we are not immune to the cycles of the Earth. A frozen Earth would erase borders, crush economies, and bring civilization to its knees. And yet, as chilling as this vision is, it is only one chapter in Earth's arsenal of catastrophes. The frozen world reminds us that climate itself can betray us, that Earth can shift from fire to ice in ways that make human history seem insignificant. But if the planet's own swings are not enough, there are also threats from the skies, asteroids, comets, celestial intruders that strike without warning, leaving behind craters as scars of cosmic violence. Compared to those, even a snowball Earth begins to feel almost merciful. If the frozen Earth reminds us that our planet can betray us, then cosmic impacts remind us that the universe itself is hostile. We live under an illusion of safety, surrounded by stars, bathed in sunlight, comforted by the cycles of days and seasons. But space is not peaceful. It is a battlefield of rocks, ice, and fragments left over from the birth of the solar system, each one traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour. Most are harmless, burning up as meteors in the sky, the fleeting streaks we call shooting stars. But sometimes, rarely, one is big enough to survive entry. And when it hits Earth, the results are catastrophic. Impacts have shaped not just landscapes, but the very course of life itself. They are reminders that no matter how advanced we become, no matter how powerful our technology grows, we are still living on a planet exposed to the random violence of the cosmos. The most famous impact in history is the one that ended the reign of the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, a chunk of rock or ice, roughly 6 miles wide, slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The explosion released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. The immediate devastation was almost beyond comprehension. Shockwaves racing around the globe, tsunamis hundreds of feet high, fires igniting forests on every continent. But the real killer was the aftermath. Dust and soot filled the sky, blocking sunlight for months or even years. Temperatures dropped, photosynthesis collapsed, food chains unraveled. In a geological instant, 3/4 of all species on Earth vanished. The dinosaurs, rulers of the planet for over 160 million years, were gone, cleared away to make room for mammals, and eventually us. Our very existence is built on their extinction, the byproduct of a cosmic accident. But the Yucatan impact was not the first, and it will not be the last. Craters scar the Earth, evidence of collisions stretching back billions of years. The Barringer crater in Arizona, nearly a mile wide, was carved out just 50,000 years ago by a meteor barely 60 feet across. The Tunguska event in 1908 flattened 800 square miles of Siberian forest, with an explosion so powerful it shattered windows hundreds of miles away. Yet the object responsible was likely less than 200 feet wide. If such a rock had hit over a city instead of a wilderness, millions could have died. These events are small compared to the dinosaur killer, but they serve as warnings. Earth is a target, and the universe never stops aiming. Scientists estimate that near-Earth objects large enough to cause regional devastation strike once every few centuries, while planet killers like the one that ended the dinosaurs may arrive every few million years. In cosmic terms, that is not long, and with each passing year, as we discover more asteroids and comets orbiting dangerously close, the odds become less abstract. We know of thousands of them, tracked by telescopes, catalogued and monitored, but we also know we are missing countless others, dark objects hidden in the glare of the sun or the black of deep space. Humanity has only been watching the skies with precision for a few decades. The universe has been throwing rocks at Earth for billions of years. It's a game of cosmic roulette, and we don't know when the next bullet will fire. The terrifying truth is that if a large asteroid were discovered tomorrow, on a direct collision course with Earth, we might not have the ability to stop it. Science fiction likes to imagine heroic missions with nuclear warheads blasting the rock apart. But reality is messier. Shattering an asteroid could just turn one target into 100, all still headed our way. The better plan would be to deflect it, nudging it off course years before impact. NASA has already tested this idea with the DART mission, which successfully altered the orbit of a small asteroid. It was a proof of concept, a reminder that we are not completely powerless. But for such a plan to work, we need time, decades. Ideally, if we detect an asteroid only months or years before impact, our technology may not be ready. And unlike volcanoes or climate cycles, asteroids do not give warnings. They strike without mercy. The idea of cosmic impacts ties directly into extinction events throughout history. The dinosaurs are the most famous victims, but they are not alone. Some scientists believe earlier mass extinctions, like the one 250 million years ago that killed over 90% of marine species, may also have been triggered by impacts combined with volcanic activity. Life on Earth has been nearly wiped out multiple times, and impacts are often part of the story. Without them, evolution would have taken a different course. Without them, humans might never have existed at all. But the same forces that cleared the way for us could one day erase us too. What makes this idea even more unsettling is that we are not just talking about asteroids. Comets, with their long, unpredictable orbits, may be even more dangerous. Unlike asteroids, which circle the sun in relatively stable paths, comets can come from the outer reaches of the solar system, falling inward with little warning. They travel faster, hit harder, and sometimes arrive from directions where telescopes cannot see them until it's too late. In 1994, humanity watched as fragments of comet Shoemaker Levy 9 slammed into Jupiter, producing explosions larger than Earth itself. It was a sobering demonstration of what could happen here. Jupiter may act as a shield, deflecting some comets away from Earth, but it cannot stop them all. One day, one may come our way. Impacts are not just relics of prehistory. They are ongoing threats, and the evidence is written in fireballs that streak across the sky every year, in small craters newly discovered, in shockwaves that rattle our atmosphere. In 2013, a meteor exploded over Chelyabinsk, Russia, with the force of 30 Hiroshima bombs. Windows shattered, buildings shook, and over 1,000 people were injured, not by the rock itself, but by the shockwave of its airburst. That meteor was only about 60 feet wide. Now imagine one a mile wide, or 5 or 10. That is the scale of extinction. That is the scale of Earth's most violent history. And here is the paradox. Without impacts, we might not be here at all. They delivered water to the early Earth, seeding the oceans. They may have carried the building blocks of life itself. Amino acids formed in the frozen dark of space. They ended the age of dinosaurs, opening the path for mammals. In a cruel way, impacts are both destroyers and creators, killers and midwives. The Earth we know is shaped by them, and so are we. We owe them our existence, even as we fear their return. But knowing this truth doesn't make it easier to face. The idea that at any moment, without warning, a rock from space could appear in the sky and erase everything we've built. It is humbling, terrifying, and strangely inescapable. Civilizations rise and fall, empires expand and crumble, but all of it could vanish in the flash of an impact. That is the real fragility of life on Earth. And as much as we hope to predict, to monitor, to prepare, the final word always belongs to the universe. Impacts are only one piece of the puzzle, one of Earth's many killers, but they remind us of something important. Survival is not guaranteed, not even for the strongest. The dinosaurs ruled for millions of years, far longer than humans have existed, and yet they were erased in a single day. If it could happen to them, it could happen to us. And while we watch the skies for the next cosmic intruder, we must not forget that threats also rise from within, from the depths of the Earth, from its shifting crust, from its restless ocean. Because while space may be dangerous, Earth itself is far from safe. For all our satellites, telescopes, and machines, the greatest mystery we face is not in space, but right here on Earth beneath the waves. The oceans cover more than 70% of the planet, yet we have mapped only a fraction of their depths. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our own seas. This ignorance is not trivial. It hides worlds we barely comprehend, ecosystems beyond imagination and phenomena that defy explanation. The ocean is Earth's final frontier, a place of beauty and terror, a reminder that even on our own planet, we remain strangers. And the deeper we descend, the more the line between science and myth begins to blur. At the most basic level, the ocean hides entire landscapes, as dramatic as any mountain range on land. Beneath the waves lies the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a volcanic scar stretching 40,000 miles across the planet, where new crust is constantly born as plates drift apart. Around the Pacific, the Ring of Fire encircles the ocean with volcanoes and trenches so deep they make Everest look small. The Mariana Trench plunges nearly 7 miles down, a depth so crushing that few machines have ever reached it. Down there, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface, darkness is absolute, and temperatures hover just above freezing. And yet, life persists. Creatures with shapes so alien they look like something from another world. Bioluminescent predators with glowing lures, translucent beings that drift like living ghosts. We have barely scratched the surface of this abyss, and what we've seen so far suggests that its secrets may be endless. But beyond the alien biology, there are anomalies, phenomena that resist explanation, events that hint at forces we cannot fully grasp. One of the most mysterious is the so-called bloop, a sound detected by underwater microphones. It was unlike anything ever recorded, louder than the calls of blue whales, echoing across thousands of miles of ocean. For years, theories ranged from giant undiscovered sea creatures to shifting icebergs. The official explanation is ice quakes, but not everyone is convinced. The sheer scale of the sound suggests something massive, something alive, or something else entirely lurking in the deep. And then there is the Bermuda Triangle, a region of the Atlantic long associated with vanished ships, lost planes, and strange phenomena. Skeptics dismiss it as coincidence, pointing to human error and natural storms, but survivors' reports of compasses spinning wildly, sudden electronic failures, and disorienting fogs continue to feed the mystery. Whether caused by methane gas eruptions, magnetic anomalies, or something stranger, the triangle has become a symbol of the ocean's ability to swallow without explanation. It reminds us that even in the modern age, there are places where human control dissolves, where the ocean reclaims what it will. The legends don't end there. For centuries, sailors have spoken of sea monsters, krakens with tentacles large enough to drag ships under, serpents that slithered across waves, beasts that defied description. For a long time, these were dismissed as myths. Yet as we've explored the deep, we've discovered creatures like the giant squid, once thought to be legend, now confirmed to exist at sizes of 40 feet or more. If such a monster could hide from human knowledge for so long, what else might remain undiscovered? The ocean is vast enough to conceal giants, and history is full of stories that suggest we've only glimpsed fragments of what swims beneath. Beyond creatures and myths, the ocean hides civilizations as well. Rising seas have swallowed countless coastal cities, leaving ruins beneath the waves. Off the coast of India lies the submerged city of Dwarka, its stone walls and temples preserved beneath the water. Near Japan, the Yonaguni Monument sits on the seafloor, with steps and terraces that some argue are natural formations, while others insist they are remnants of a lost civilization. Off the coast of Greece, Pavlopatria is an ancient city that sank over 5,000 years ago, complete with streets, tombs and houses still visible under the sea. These sites prove that the ocean is not just a natural mystery. It is a graveyard of human history, swallowing worlds and leaving behind whispers of civilizations erased by floods. And floods are not just history, they are prophecy. As the ice caps melt and seas rise, the ocean is set to reclaim more land in the future. Cities like Miami, Jakarta, and Venice are already threatened. Islands in the Pacific are disappearing beneath the wave. In time, entire nations may vanish into the ocean, becoming future ruins for others to rediscover. Just as Doggerland was swallowed thousands of years ago, modern civilization may leave its own drowned cities, lost to the relentless hunger of the sea. The ocean has taken before, and it will take again. But perhaps the strangest secrets of the ocean are the ones that are not easily explained by natural forces. There are reports of strange lights, deep beneath the waves, glowing orbs that move against the currents, objects that resemble craft rising from the seafloor at impossible speeds. These sightings have given rise to theories of USOs, unidentified submerged objects counterparts to UFOs, but lurking in the oceans instead of the skies. Governments and militaries have logged encounters with fast-moving anomalies underwater, traveling faster than known submarines, maneuvering in ways that defy physics. Are they natural phenomena, unknown life forms, or something else entirely? Whatever the truth, the ocean is vast enough to hide them, a perfect cloak for mysteries we cannot solve. The unsettling part is that despite all our technology, despite our submarines, sonar and satellites, we have only explored about 5% of the ocean floor. The other 95% remains unseen, uncharted, untouched. Within that darkness could lie creatures beyond imagination, civilizations erased and forgotten, phenomena we cannot yet describe. The ocean is not empty, it is full of secrets, full of power, full of the unknown. And it reminds us that on a planet we think we've conquered, there are still places where we are helpless intruders. The more we uncover, the more we realize how little we know. The ocean is not just a place of beauty or resources, it is a force. It regulates climate, produces most of the oxygen we breathe, and drives weather systems across the globe. If it shifts, we shift. If it falters, we falter. And like Earth's core or its frozen past, the ocean has its own rhythms, its own dangers, its own power to shape the fate of humanity. The seas have drowned civilizations, swallowed legends, hidden monsters and whispered strange sounds into the ears of scientists. They are both cradle and grave, a mirror of Earth's mysteries, and while we continue to explore, to dive deeper, to map further, one truth remains: the ocean will never fully reveal itself. It will always keep secrets, and some of them may be too vast, too strange, or too terrifying for us to ever understand. But if the ocean is a place of hidden power, there is another realm of Earth that is just as mysterious, just as capable of reshaping our fate. The atmosphere above us, a fragile veil of air that sustains life yet hides storms and forces that can destroy without warning. And the deeper we look into it, the more it too reveals secrets that challenge everything we think we know about this planet. We take the air around us for granted, breathing it in every second of our lives, rarely stopping to think about how fragile it really is. Earth's atmosphere is a thin veil, barely clinging to the surface of the planet, protecting us from the cold vacuum of space and the fury of the sun. Strip it away, and life would end in moments. Yet, even with its protective role, the atmosphere itself is a realm of chaos, a stage for forces that can terrify, destroy, and mystify. Scientists study it with satellites and instruments, but time and again it reveals phenomena that defy explanation. The atmosphere is not a calm shield. It is a restless living system full of secrets, and some of them may be darker than we realize. Consider lightning, something so common we barely think about it. Yet it is one of the most mysterious forces in nature. Each bolt contains more energy than entire cities consume in seconds, heating the air to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. We understand the basics, that it's a sudden discharge of electricity between clouds and the ground, but the details are still elusive. Why lightning takes certain paths, why it sometimes repeats in the same place, why phenomena like sprites and blue jets flash high above thunderstorms remain questions. These glowing shapes, recorded by pilots and satellites, look like ghostly tendrils of light, shooting upward toward space, instead of downward to Earth. They were dismissed as hallucinations for decades, until cameras finally proved them real. Even now, their mechanisms are not fully understood. The atmosphere hides these strange electric ghosts, glimpses of a system far more complex than we admit. And lightning is only the beginning. Storms themselves can become apocalyptic in scale. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are born from warm ocean waters, growing into spinning monsters that can stretch hundreds of miles across. Inside, winds roar at over 150 miles per hour, tearing apart buildings, uprooting trees, and pushing walls of water onto coasts. From space, they look like perfect spirals, almost beautiful, yet their beauty hides destruction. Tornadoes, smaller but deadlier, form with even less warning. A spinning funnel of air can obliterate entire neighborhoods in minutes, leaving a path of chaos so precise it looks like the work of a scalpel. And then there are the rare colossal storms, supercells that seem almost alive, rotating for hours, hurling hailstones the size of fists, birthing tornado after tornado. For the people caught beneath them, the atmosphere feels less like air and more like a predator. But storms are not the only anomalies. Sometimes the atmosphere produces sounds, strange, low-frequency hums known as skyquakes or mystery booms. These rumbles have been reported across the world, often with no earthquakes, no explosions, no visible source. In some cases, they are explained as distant thunder or military activity, but in many, no explanation is ever found. To those who hear them, they sound like the planet itself groaning, the atmosphere vibrating with some hidden force, sending messages we cannot yet decode. Then there are the sudden terrifying phenomena, like fire whirls or firenadoes, spinning columns of flame created when wildfires collide with atmospheric instability. These flaming tornadoes can leap across roads, incinerate everything in their path, and move faster than anyone can run. They are rare, but they prove a chilling truth. When the atmosphere mixes with Earth's surface in just the wrong way, entirely new disasters can be born. Perhaps one of the strangest atmospheric mysteries lies in the polar regions, the auroras. These glowing curtains of green, red, and violet light dance across the skies when solar particles collide with Earth's magnetic field. They are beautiful, but they are also warnings. The sun is not calm, it is violent, and when it flares, it sends storms of charged particles across space. Most of the time, Earth's magnetic field deflects them harmlessly. But occasionally, a solar storm is so powerful that it overwhelms our defense. In 1859, the Carrington event sent electrical currents racing through telegraph wires, shocking operators and setting equipment on fire. If such a storm hit today, it could fry satellites, knock out power grids, and plunge entire nations into darkness. The aurora is not just a spectacle, it is a glimpse of the sun's wrath, a reminder of how vulnerable our atmosphere truly is. And what of the upper atmosphere? The regions so high above us that they blur into space. Strange things happen there too. Pilots have reported glowing orbs pacing their planes, objects darting in and out of clouds with impossible speed. While many dismiss these as misidentified aircraft or illusions, the sheer number of reports suggests something more. The Pentagon itself has acknowledged unidentified aerial phenomena, many of which seem to move in ways impossible for known aircraft. If such objects are real, the atmosphere may not just be a shield. It may be a crossroads, a stage for forces we cannot explain, whether natural, technological, or something else entirely. The mysteries extend further still. In some regions, the sky has been known to rain strange substances, fish, frogs, even jelly-like materials sometimes called star jelly. Science explains some of these as waterspouts sucking animals into the air, but others remain harder to prove. To those who witness them, the sky itself seems alive, spitting down impossible rain. Whether natural or not, these events reinforce the idea that the atmosphere is unpredictable, a wild system that resists our attempts to control it. Even the very air we breathe is not constant. Oxygen levels have shifted dramatically over Earth's history. Hundreds of millions of years ago, during the Carboniferous period, oxygen made up nearly 35% of the atmosphere, compared to today's. This allowed insects to grow to monstrous sizes, dragonflies with wingspans of over 2 feet, millipedes longer than humans. Imagine walking through a forest where the air itself makes creatures grow to terrifying proportions. And imagine what would happen if oxygen levels shifted again, changing the very structure of life. The atmosphere does not just sustain life, it sculpts it, deciding what can live and what cannot. All of this leads to a sobering truth. The atmosphere is not a passive backdrop. It is a force, one that can create storms larger than nations, unleash fire from the skies, erase technology, and shape evolution itself. We depend on it with every breath, but we do not control it. And even as we study, as we launch satellites and build supercomputers to predict its moods, the atmosphere keeps its secrets. It hides phenomena we barely glimpse, sounds we cannot trace, lights we cannot explain. It is a reminder that even the air around us, the thing we think we know best, is still full of mystery. And if the atmosphere is full of secrets, then the land itself is no less mysterious, because beneath our feet lies a record of catastrophe, mass extinctions, strange fossils, sudden disappearances that suggest Earth's surface has been wiped clean again and again. The ground is not just solid, it is a graveyard, and what it hides may be even stranger than what the skies reveal. The ground we walk on feels permanent, but it is built on layers of death. Every rock formation, every fossil bed, every canyon wall tells a story written not by human hands but by extinction. Life on Earth is resilient, but it is not invincible. Again and again, our planet has hit reset, wiping out the majority of living creatures and forcing evolution to start over. We often think of extinction as something gradual, species fading away one by one. But history reveals something darker: mass extinctions, sudden collapses where most life disappears in a geological instant. They are reminders that Earth does not belong to us, it belongs to itself, and survival here has always been a gamble. The most famous of these events is the one that ended the age of the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, as we know, an asteroid slammed into what is now Mexico, triggering a chain of destruction that erased nearly 75% of species on Earth. But while that extinction is iconic, it is only one in a series of catastrophes that have shaped life's story. Long before the dinosaurs vanished, other worlds had risen and fallen, each erased by forces beyond their control. Take the Permian-Triassic extinction, often called the Great Dying. It happened about 2,452 million years ago, and remains the most severe extinction event in Earth's history. Over 90% of marine species were wiped out, along with 70% of life on land. Imagine a world where nearly everything vanished. Forests turned to deserts, oceans turned toxic, skies darkened with volcanic gases. The causes are still debated. Some scientists point to massive volcanic eruptions in Siberia, releasing enough lava to cover an area the size of the United States, and filling the air with greenhouse gases and deadly sulfur. Others suggest asteroid impacts or methane eruptions from the ocean floor. Whatever the cause, the result was apocalyptic. The Earth nearly sterilized itself. Life clawed its way back slowly, and when it did, the survivors evolved into new forms that would dominate the next era. Without the Great Dying, the dinosaurs might never have risen. Another haunting extinction was the Ordovician-Silurian event, about 440 million years ago. It came in two waves, likely triggered by dramatic climate shifts. A sudden ice age froze much of the planet, locking water into glaciers and lowering sea levels. Then, just as suddenly, the ice melted, drowning coastal ecosystems. Nearly 85% of species vanished, most of them marine. This extinction reminds us of how sensitive Earth's balance is. Too much ice, too little ice, and life can collapse. Then came the Devonian extinction, around 360 million years ago, sometimes called the Age of Fishes extinction. The seas, which had been teeming with bizarre armored fish and reefs larger than modern coral systems, suddenly emptied. Over 75% of species disappeared. Some evidence suggests that plants may have played a role. As forests spread across the continents for the first time, their roots broke down rocks, releasing nutrients into rivers and oceans. This may have triggered massive algal blooms, suffocating marine life and starving oxygen from the water. In other words, life itself may have accidentally triggered mass death. Later, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, around 2,000 million years ago, cleared the stage for the dinosaurs. Again, volcanic eruptions are suspected, linked to the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. Carbon dioxide surged, climates shifted, and nearly 80% of species disappeared. Once again, catastrophe created opportunity. The dinosaurs, small and relatively unimportant before, spread across the globe, rising to dominance for over 160 million years. Their reign was long, but as history shows, even dominance is temporary. What makes these events so chilling is their rhythm. Mass extinctions are not random. They seem to follow cycles, as if Earth itself breathes in patterns of creation and destruction. Some researchers suggest a periodicity of around 26 to 30 million years, with extinction pulses linked to comet showers or cycles in Earth's movement through the galaxy. Others believe the planet's own systems like tectonics and volcanism drive the rhythm. Whatever the cause, the message is clear. Extinction is part of the planet's design. It is not an accident, but a recurring force, shaping evolution like a sculptor chiseling marble. And extinctions do not only belong to the distant past. The Quaternary extinction, beginning around 50,000 years ago, wiped out mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and countless other megafauna. The causes are debated: climate change at the end of the last ice age, human hunting, or both. What is unsettling is that this extinction overlaps with our own rise. Humanity may have played a role in erasing entire species, proving that we are not just victims of extinction, but agents of it. Today, some scientists warn we are living through a sixth mass extinction, driven by deforestation, pollution, climate change, and overhunting. Species vanish daily, often without us even knowing they existed. Unlike past extinctions, this one is not caused by volcanoes or asteroids. It is caused by us. And if history is any guide, The Earth will survive, but whether we will is another question entirely. The pattern of mass extinctions forces us to confront a disturbing truth. Life is fragile, and Earth's history is less a steady climb and more a series of collapses. Each extinction resets the stage, erasing what came before and allowing something new to rise. It is a cycle of destruction and renewal, one that has shaped every creature on the planet, including us. Without extinctions, there would be no humans, and with them there may someday be no humans again. But perhaps the most unsettling question is this: what if extinction is not just natural but necessary? Without the Great Dying, mammals might never have evolved. Without the asteroid, dinosaurs would still rule. Extinction is both an end and a beginning, a brutal reminder that survival is never permanent. We like to believe we are different, that technology shields us from the fate of the trilobites or the mammoths. But the truth is simpler: we are just another species, living on a planet that does not care about us. When the next extinction comes, whether from a supervolcano, an asteroid, or our own actions, we may discover that dominance is nothing more than a temporary illusion. The ground beneath us is a graveyard, a record of Earth's violence. Every fossil is a warning. Every layer of rock is a page in a story of life and death, creation and erasure. And if there is one lesson to take from these cycles, it is that the Earth will continue, with or without us. The planet has survived 5 mass extinctions, each one reshaping the course of evolution. It will survive a 6th, a 7th, an 8th. The question is whether humanity's story will end as abruptly as the trilobites or the dinosaurs, or whether we can learn to read the signs before it's too late. And as we reflect on these cycles of death, another mystery rises. What if extinction is not only about biology, but also about memory? Civilizations, like species, rise and fall, their knowledge buried, their achievements erased. And just as fossils are fragments of life lost, ruins are fragments of societies forgotten. The Earth does not just bury creatures, it buries history, and the civilizations it has erased may hold clues that our own survival depends on. When we think of history, we think of a straight line: cavemen discovering fire, farmers planting seeds, kings raising empires, and modern humans building cities of glass and steel. But the Earth itself tells a different story, one of cycles and resets, of civilizations erased so completely that only fragments remain. For every Rome, there was a Troy. For every Egypt, there was a forgotten kingdom buried beneath sand, sea, or jungle. The unsettling truth is that our history may not be as complete as we believe. Civilizations rise, thrive, and collapse, leaving behind ruins, myths, and mysteries that whisper of worlds we can barely imagine. And if that happened before, it can happen again. Consider Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, carved over 11,000 years ago, long before the invention of writing or the rise of agriculture. It is a vast stone temple built by hunter-gatherers. Its existence shatters the story we were taught in school, that complex architecture came after farming. Here, giant stone pillars were arranged in circles, etched with animals and symbols, as if telling stories we no longer understand. The site was deliberately buried, preserved in secrecy, hidden for millennia. Why, who built it, and what knowledge did they possess? We do not know, but it proves one thing: human history is older and stranger than we once believed. And Göbekli Tepe is not alone. Beneath the waters off the coast of India lies the sunken city of Dwarka, a place described in ancient texts and long thought to be a myth. Archaeologists diving there have found walls, streets, and artifacts suggesting it was once a thriving city, lost when the sea swallowed it thousands of years ago. Similarly, in the Mediterranean, entire settlements lie submerged, drowned as sea levels rose after the last ice age. Doggerland, once a vast land connecting Britain to Europe, is now a memory buried under the North Sea, its rivers, forests, and villages erased by the tides. When the sea comes for land, history disappears with it. Even on dry land, mysteries remain. The Nazca lines of Peru stretch across the desert, enormous geoglyphs that can only be seen from the air. No one knows exactly why they were made. Were they messages to the gods, astronomical markers, or something else? The pyramids of Egypt, the megaliths of Stonehenge, the Moai of Easter Island, all speak of civilizations with knowledge and purpose we still struggle to decode. These are not the relics of primitive people fumbling in the dark. They are the echoes of societies that understood their world in ways we no longer do. But perhaps the most haunting of all are the civilizations that have completely vanished, leaving almost nothing behind. Legends from every corner of the world speak of lost lands, Atlantis, Lemuria, new vast kingdoms, swallowed by disaster. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as myth, yet discoveries of sunken cities and forgotten ruins force us to wonder, how many times has the earth erased entire societies? How many histories lie beneath our feet, waiting to be uncovered? And how many will never be found at all? Collapse is not rare, it is normal. The Mayan civilization thrived for centuries, building massive cities with towering pyramids deep in the jungle. And then, within a few generations, it collapsed. The reasons are still debated: drought, warfare, political unrest. Whatever the cause, their cities were swallowed by the forest, their knowledge scattered. When Europeans first arrived, they found only remnants, broken monuments covered in vines. The same happened to the Indus Valley civilization, once home to millions, with advanced urban planning and sewage systems more sophisticated than some modern cities. It, too, collapsed, leaving behind mysteries still unsolved. Even the mighty Roman Empire, which ruled much of the known world, crumbled. Roads, aqueducts, and libraries fell into ruin. For centuries, Europe forgot how to build what Rome had mastered. It took 1,000 years before humanity clawed its way back to the same level of engineering. Civilization is not permanent. It is fragile, a tower built on shifting sands, and when it falls, knowledge falls with it. What makes this even more unsettling is the possibility that older civilizations may have risen and vanished long before recorded history. The geological record shows sudden shifts in climate, floods, and volcanic eruptions that could have erased entire societies without leaving a trace. Myths of great floods appear in nearly every culture. The story of Noah in the Bible, Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, Deucalion in Greek myth, Manu in Hindu tradition. Were these stories pure imagination, or memories of real cataclysms passed down across generations? If seas rose rapidly at the end of the Ice Age, entire coastal civilizations would have drowned, leaving only legends. Perhaps the myths are not fiction, but fragments of truth. Technology does not guarantee survival. In fact, the more advanced a civilization becomes, the more vulnerable it may be to sudden collapse. The Romans built aqueducts, but when they failed, cities dried up. The Mayans depended on rainfall, but when drought came, their society fractured. Our world depends on electricity, fuel, and global trade. What happens if one of those threads breaks? A cyber attack, a solar storm, a sudden climate event. Our systems are vast, but they are also fragile. We could vanish as quickly as the Maya or the Indus, leaving behind skyscrapers instead of pyramids, silicon instead of stone, satellites instead of statues. And just like those before us, we may be reduced to myths in the memory of whatever comes after. The scariest part is not just that civilizations fall, but that they are forgotten. Entire worlds can vanish so completely that their existence becomes a debate, their stories reduced to fragments of myth, their knowledge scattered into the dirt. The earth does not care about memory, it buries, erases, and resets. And we, with our pride in progress, are not immune. When we see the ruins of past civilizations, we are not just looking at history, we are looking at prophecy. Because if history is a cycle, if the rise and fall of civilizations is inevitable, then our age is just another chapter, destined to close. We may imagine that technology makes us different, that satellites and smartphones guarantee permanence, but the Earth has seen empires before. It has erased them all. The lesson of lost civilizations is not that they failed, it is that they thought they would last forever. And as haunting as this truth is, it opens the door to an even bigger question. What if some civilizations were not just lost, but deliberately hidden? What if knowledge was buried, concealed or erased on purpose by those who survived, or by those who wanted the past forgotten? Our ruins may be more than remnants. They may be messages, warnings carved in stone. But warnings only work if we listen. And history suggests we rarely do. When we think of ruins, we usually see them as relics of the past, frozen remnants of what once was. But what if they are more than that? What if some of them are not just broken monuments, but coded warnings, messages from those who came before, carved into stone so that the future might listen? History has always been written in fragile forms, parchment, clay tablets, even digital code. Yet stone survives. And again, we find ancient sites that seem less like expressions of power and more like desperate attempts to speak across time. The question is, are we listening, or are we doomed to repeat the mistakes buried with them? One of the most obvious examples is the concept of flood myths. From Mesopotamia to Greece, from India to the Americas, cultures separated by oceans all tell the same story: a great deluge that swept away everything, leaving only a few survivors to start again. These tales are eerily consistent, too consistent to be coincidence. Were they metaphors, or were they warnings passed down by survivors of a real catastrophe, encoded in myth so the memory wouldn't vanish? If entire civilizations were drowned by rising seas at the end of the Ice Age, then these flood stories may be the last echoes of drowned worlds, meant to warn us that the waters always return. And now, with seas rising once again in our own time, the warnings feel less like stories and more like prophecy. But the warnings are not always written as stories. Sometimes they are carved directly into the earth. Take the Luwian hieroglyphs, discovered in Turkey, etched into stone blocks that speak of empires and disasters in the late Bronze Age. These texts describe entire kingdoms collapsing, a chain reaction of famine, invasions and wars that erased civilizations in a single generation. Archaeologists call it the Bronze Age collapse, a time when great powers like the Hittites and Mycenaeans disappeared almost overnight. Some believe these inscriptions were not just records but warnings, deliberately left to tell the future how fragile even the greatest empires can be. And then there are the structures that seem too monumental to be mere coincidence. The Moai statues of Easter Island, staring inland with solemn expressions, may not just be monuments to ancestors. Some anthropologists suggest they were placed as guardians, watching over the people, reminding them of their connection to the land. Yet the society that built them collapsed, likely from overusing resources. The statues remain, silent witnesses, warnings carved in stone that say respect the land, or the land will bury you. The irony is haunting. In Japan, there are tsunami stones, ancient markers placed high on hillsides with simple inscriptions: "Do not build below this point." They were carved by survivors of ancient tsunamis, warnings for future generations not to settle too close to the sea. For centuries, the warnings were ignored. Villages grew on the flatlands below, and when the 2011 tsunami struck, sweeping away entire towns, many of those villages were the ones below the stones. The ancestors had warned them, the stones had spoken, but the people had forgotten. Even in modern times, we have attempted to leave warnings for the far future, and the results reveal how hard it is to speak across time. Consider the waste isolation pilot plant in New Mexico, a nuclear waste storage site meant to last for Scientists and linguists struggled to design a warning system that future civilizations, no matter how far removed from us, could understand. They carved monoliths and created inscriptions in multiple languages, accompanied by ominous designs meant to say "stay away." But who can guarantee that in thousands of years, those symbols won't be misinterpreted as invitations, as puzzles, or as sacred sites to be explored? The difficulty of speaking across time is the same one our ancestors faced. Did they try to warn us, only for us to mistake their messages for art or myth? Some ruins almost feel like deliberate puzzles. The Great Pyramids of Egypt, aligned perfectly with the stars, seem less like tombs and more like cosmic markers. Were they designed to remind future civilizations of the cycles of the heavens, to anchor knowledge of astronomy in stone? At Göbekli Tepe, the carvings of animals and celestial symbols may be more than decoration. They could be records of constellations, events in the sky, or even cataclysms witnessed by early humans. The problem is interpretation. Without context, we can only guess. A warning without a key is just a riddle, and riddles can be lost in translation. But perhaps the most unsettling possibility is that some knowledge was buried deliberately, not to warn, but to hide. Myths of secret chambers beneath the Sphinx, or hidden vaults of wisdom stored away for a future age, persist across cultures. Even if the legends are exaggerated, they hint at a recurring human instinct to preserve knowledge in times of crisis, to hide it in stone against the collapse of society. We know it has happened before. The Library of Alexandria, filled with the knowledge of the ancient world, was destroyed in fire, erasing centuries of science, medicine, and philosophy. What was lost there could have changed history, advancing humanity by centuries. If such knowledge was buried deliberately elsewhere, then our greatest mysteries may lie not in what we don't know, but in what was hidden to protect it from destruction or from us. The unsettling truth is that even when warnings are carved into stone, they are often ignored. People forget, people misinterpret, people convince themselves that the past cannot repeat, that disaster is only myth. The ruins become tourist attractions instead of lessons. The warnings become bedtime stories instead of survival guides. And so history repeats, over and over. Civilizations collapse, new ones rise, and the cycle continues. The earth itself erases, winds wear down inscriptions, seas swallow coasts, forests reclaim cities. The longer a warning stands, the greater the chance it will be lost. And so the only question is this: are we missing something? Are there ruins we dismiss as myth, carvings we call superstition, stories we laugh at, that were never meant as legends at all, but as desperate cries from those who lived through collapse? If that is true, then our arrogance is dangerous. We imagine we are the pinnacle of history, immune to the fates of those who came before. But the stones tell another story. They whisper that we are not the first to rise, and we will not be the last to fall. The warnings are all around us, etched in myth, carved in ruins, standing silently in landscapes where civilizations once thrived. Whether we choose to hear them is another matter. And perhaps the greatest warning of all is this: one day, our own cities will be ruins. Our skyscrapers will crumble, our satellites will fall, our languages will be forgotten. What will we leave behind? What message will we carve into the stone if we even bother at all? Will we try to warn whoever comes after us of our mistakes? Or will we simply vanish, leaving behind fragments as baffling to them as Göbekli Tepe is to us? The truth is, the earth keeps secrets well. It buries them deep. And sometimes those secrets are not just warnings. They are temptations, waiting to be rediscovered, waiting to test whether we have learned or whether we are doomed to repeat the cycle once again. When we step back and look at the story of Earth, it does not read like a calm march of progress, but like a drama of chaos and survival. A planet that froze into a ball of ice, that burned with volcanic fire, that drowned entire worlds under rising seas. A planet that erased life again and again through extinctions, only to allow something new to rise from the ashes. A planet that hides its mysteries in the deep ocean, in the skies above, and in ruins that whisper of civilizations we barely remember. The unsettling truth is that Earth is not stable. It never has been. It is a restless, shifting world, and everything we know, our cities, our technology, our sense of permanence, is just a fragile moment in its long, unpredictable cycle. What makes this story haunting is not just what has already happened, but what it implies about the future. If Earth has wiped itself clean before, what makes us think we are exempt? If entire species, even entire civilizations, have vanished without warning, why do we assume ours will endure? We have built towers higher than pyramids, carved machines finer than any ancient tool, mapped the stars and split the atom. Yet in the face of Earth's true power, an asteroid strike, a supervolcano, a shifting climate, or simply the slow, relentless march of time, we are still fragile. History shows that survival here has never been a guarantee. It has always been a race against disaster, and sooner or later the planet resets. But there is another way to see it. The same catastrophes that destroy also create. The frozen Earth may have pushed evolution to adapt, leading to the rise of complex life. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs made room for mammals, and eventually for us. Extinctions clear the stage for something new, and ruins remind us that even collapse carries lessons. Perhaps the Earth's violence is not just destruction but transformation. Perhaps survival does not mean escaping catastrophe, but learning to move through it, to adapt and carry knowledge forward when everything else falls away. And that is the challenge for us now. The oceans are rising again, the atmosphere grows unstable, species are vanishing, and the balance of life shifts under our feet. The warnings of the past, flood myths, tsunami stones, ruins swallowed by time, speak louder than ever. Will we listen or will we dismiss them as stories and superstitions until the cycle swallows us too? Our fate depends on whether we can learn from the voices of the dead, from the scars carved into the earth, from the history buried in stone. In the end, the earth will endure. It has survived ice, fire, and impacts from the sky. It has reset itself again and again. The question is not whether the planet will continue, but whether we will. Civilization is young, fragile, and arrogant. We think we are the masters of the world, but we are only its tenants, living on borrowed time. The planet has buried countless tenants before us, and it will bury countless more. What matters is whether we leave behind ruins that whisper of wasted chances, or warnings that might help those who come after us survive. And so the conclusion is simple but sobering. The Earth is not ours. It is older, stronger, and more mysterious than we can imagine. We are not its rulers. We are its guests, and if we want to last, if we want our story to be more than a brief spark in the darkness, we must learn to listen to the planet, to its cycles, its warnings, its whispers carved in stone and sea and sky. Because if there is one lesson written in every extinction, every ruin, every buried secret, it is this: those who forget the Earth's power do not last.